Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, I've got a post here from Hedera that I want you guys to see, and then I've got this other post from Hedera, and then I've got a post from Marco Salzman, who's really broke this information down. Really great as always. So I want to show you that and then show you how the posts all tie in together. So we've got here, they say Nilmini Rubin, Chief Policy Officer at Hedera, takes a deep dive into the WEF, which is the World Economic Forum, Advancing Responsible AI Innovation Playbook, a report in her latest article for the WEF. She explores why responsible AI must be built in from the start and how embedding governance where policy meets product is essential to building trust and long-term impact. Okay, so I've got this other post that I just want you to see. So it's Hedera again, and they say the next wave of AI agents won't just think and respond. They'll shop, subscribe and pay. With X402, Agentic AI has the tools it needs to realize the full potential of the connected economy, and Web3 payment rails like Hedera will provide the decentralized infrastructure to facilitate it. Okay, so I've got a post here from Marco Salzman. So once again, I've just got a great post from him, so I'm just going to go through this because it really does break it down beautifully. So once again, if you do want to give Marco a follow, it's Marco, so that's M-A-R-C-O, Salzman, that's S-A-L-Z-M-A-N-N-80. Okay, so give him a follow on X. Really does do great content, so shout out to him. So let's just go through what he says here. Constellation of Trust. Why Hedera is becoming a governance layer for AI. Hedera's Nilmini Rubin on WEF. Why responsible AI starts with data trust. Nilmini Rubin, Chief Policy Officer Hedera, makes a simple point. AI will not scale on capability alone. It will scale on trust. Her headline statistic is stark. Fewer than 1 in 100 organizations have fully operationalized responsible AI practices. The gap is not technical, it is structural. When governance arrives late, problems show up early. Data quality issues, opaque decision making, and weak accountability do not disappear as systems scale. They compound. The World Economic Forum playbook she references frames this as a design choice. Governance can be treated like a brake, or it can be treated like a foundation that stabilizes scale. The trust problem starts at the data layer. If you cannot prove how a model was trained, what data it saw, and what changed over time, you cannot defend outcomes when the stakes are real. This is where verifiable records matter. Rubin points to approaches that create cryptographic receipts for training and inference so that evidence exists by default, not only after an incident. One example she highlights is Equity Labs working with NVIDIA on verifiable compute and anchoring cryptographic receipts on Hedera. The value is simple. You can verify what happened without relying on a trust me narrative. She also points to Prove AI, documenting who touched which training set, when and under what policy, aligned with emerging rules like the EU AI Act. That turns governance into real-time accountability. Governance is not only data. It is people and structure. The playbook calls for named AI stewards, cross-functional councils, and a maturity path from centralized oversight to federated governance as capability grows. Rubin draws lessons from decentralized systems. DeFi governance and open source communities show that accountability becomes stronger when oversight is built into the system design rather than bolted on later. She then connects it to enterprise governance models like councils where responsibility is shared. No single actor has unchecked power. Authority is distributed, and that is why trust can be durable. The takeaway is not that governance slows AI. The takeaway is that governance is what lets AI scale responsibly. If leaders treat it as a foundation, trust can grow alongside adoption. Well said, Marco, well said. So, yeah. The reason why I wanted to get into this is because, we can see where we're going with AI, right? Like, I can see in terms of my career, I'm already seeing how AI is being implemented to quite a big degree. There's going to be many businesses, many people who are going to be utilizing AI for their jobs, for their companies, their own businesses, whatever. Everybody's going to use it where they can benefit. But you've got to look at this very similar to how crypto is, right? For example, with regulations. If AI isn't, checked and it's not safe, people are not going to use it. Because the thing is with AI is it's very powerful, but that's the thing about it. It's very powerful. So if it could be used for the wrong reasons, or it could cause a big issue from like a mistake, for example, well, who's going to want to take that risk? Like if you think, for example, of a huge bank, a massive bank, big corporation, and they've got AI there that they could use, but they're told from the get-go, look, there is this kind of thing here where there could be a problem with it. Some of the data you might get back might be incorrect. And that could lead to, for example, a potential fine for the bank, potential loss of license, damage credibility, that kind of stuff. Are they going to take that risk? Even though the AI is a great help? No. What they're going to do is they're going to wait until they feel like it's safe. And that's why, as Marco said here, it's not going to grow on just scaling alone, on just capability. It's going to grow on trust. Like they need to know that they can trust this to be accurate, that it's going to be safe. Like that's what they're going to want, because at the end of the day, yes, it's great that you could have this technology that can do, amazing things. Let's not get that in any way, shape or form twisted. But it's a thing of, it could be dangerous. Is it worth the risk? And so this is where things of what they're doing with Hedera, as leemon mentioned, this is why it'll be so impactful. And this is why they call, Hedera, again, the trust layer of the internet, because, being able to put things like receipts and stuff like that on the Hedera hashgraph, you have that information. It's immutable data. That's the kind of thing where if there's a company looking to use AI, they can look at exactly what's going on. So if they have any concerns, they'll be able to see it. Or if something does go wrong, they can look and say, okay, where did it go wrong? Like, what was the language model that it was having at the time? What kind of data was it being fed at that time? They will be able to see that and they can learn from that mistake. This isn't anything that can be tampered with or changed or amended. This is, it is what it is. Like when it's there and it's on the hash graph, that's what the information is. That's not going to be changed. So for these companies who want to use this at scale, yeah, they're going to want to feel comfortable, because the more they scale it up, the bigger they use it, the more risk they're open to, right? So if you've got, like, for example, a bank who wants to, put a lot of their whole banking and business operations now on AI, well, if it messes up, the whole ramifications can be a lot bigger, right? Because it's being worked at a much higher level than, hey, we're just going to get it to do some low level, emails and things like that. Like, it's a whole different scale of problem right there. And so this is why I do agree with what's being said. But we then get back to this post that I showed you earlier. The next wave of AI agents won't just think and respond, they'll shop, subscribe and pay. With X402, agentic AI has the tools it needs to realize the full potential of the connected economy, and Web3 payment rails like Hedera will provide the decentralized infrastructure to facilitate it. So you got to understand, like, this is where Hedera, it's going to shine in this way, right? Like, they've got the infrastructure to be able to provide these kind of services, but also they're doing things like, working with Equity Labs and NVIDIA, where they're doing the verifiable compute, that kind of thing. So you've got the trust layer there, right? You can see it's safe. And so this is why I'm saying, for me, when it comes to, AI, Hedera will have a very, in my opinion, that they'll have a very good foot in the door when it comes to people wanting to use AI technology. They may do it on the rails of Hedera because they have that type of service going on, that type of product like verifiable compute. And so this is where, when you think about crypto and AI forming, if you're looking for a network that you want to utilize for AI, for certain products or certain services, whatever, Hedera could be the one. Hedera could be the one. So that's why I just wanted to cover this, because I do feel like these types of things, I feel like in the future, it's going to go a long way. I look at it kind of similar to the whole thing with Hedera being so carbon friendly, because of that, when it comes to like carbon friendly use cases, Hedera just generally just does well because they know how good Hedera is as a network for that type of use case. So it just typically tends to do well. So I just think that's the same type of thing here. I just think, when it comes to AI, it could be that Hedera is one of the networks that gets chosen for that type of, that type of service involving AI. So yeah, it is about trust. I do completely agree with that. Like, it's not just going to be like, hey, we can use this, that's great, let's just use it. No, when it comes to these big institutions, just like with crypto, they're not going to just get involved because it can simplify things. They're going to wait. They're going to want to make sure everything is safe. They're not going to be risking, huge fines and, potential loss of license and huge damage to their credibility just to cut a few corners for now. They're not going to do that. They're going to want to know it's safe. They're going to want to know it's okay. They're going to want to know there's very minimal risk. Because obviously accidents can always happen. That's even just with humans. You can have human error, right? But if AI is so early in its stages that it's just like, hey, it's a gamble. If you want to use it, it is a gamble at this stage. No, they'll probably say, okay, we'll wait until things develop a bit more and we're a bit more comfortable, and then we'll start to use it. So it's just the obvious thing here. So yeah, just thought I'd share this with you because, again, this is a reason why Hedera could get a lot more traction when it comes to, regulations and things like that. And as AI develops, it could be a thing that ultimately leads to Hedera getting a lot more, a lot more adoption. So I thought it was worth sharing. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.